Hi everyone, Peter here from Flow High Performance, and in this presentation we're going to be continuing our video series on the fundamentals of periodization, and this one's going to be on planning the microcycle. So first we need to establish what the microcycle is. Essentially it's the most detailed level of periodization that we can plan, and usually it refers to a week of training just because it works with the calendar year. But essentially multiple microcycles strung together form a mesocycle. So you can see the video planning the mesocycle to understand how the microcycle fits into the mesocycle. So for example, we might have on Monday our speed training, on Tuesday we might have some upper body strength and sport practice, on Wednesday we might have endurance, on Thursday we have lower body strength and our sport practice, etc, etc, etc. So we know what qualities we're going to do on different days of the week. The microcycle does not have to strictly be 1 week of training. It can be as long as needed, but it's going to be very difficult to plan multiple microcycles in a row if they don't match up with the calendar week. So what do we need to plan for the microcycle? The first thing is exercise selection. So we need to know what exercise we're going to be doing on what days or what qualities we're going to be training. We will then plan our exact sets, reps, and load, and what volume and intensities are we going to use in terms of sets, reps, and loads. We also need to make sure that we're using small scale fatigue management. So we've got to make sure that the training sessions that we do have adequate recovery so that we can ensure that we are not overtraining in the short term. And the microcycle should be guided by the big picture. So the other periodization concepts that we previously went through in this video series should all basically be used as a map to guide how we're going to plan the microcycle. So this is an example of a microcycle for an off-season period. And this is for an athlete who maybe plays a team sport and they need multiple qualities, and they also have sport practice in their schedule. So during the off-season, we might only have 2 practice sessions, and this might not even be with a team. This might be individually doing your own sport practice, and that's going to dictate how we're going to plan the rest of our week. So for example, on Monday, we might do our max speed, fast power, and lower body strength, and we're trying to pair up similar qualities here. On Tuesday, we might do then our upper body strength and then our endurance work. On Thursday, we will do our acceleration, change of direction, and slower type power movements and our lower body strength exercises. On Friday, again, we're going to do our upper body strength and our conditioning, and then we'll have our sport practice again on Saturday. So we have during the off season quite a lot of room to play with only 2 sport practice sessions that are probably not that intense. The rest of the week we can pretty much dedicate to physical preparation. Then on Sunday we're going to have an active rest period where we have no planned training, and that's going to allow us to reduce our fatigue. In the pre-season we might have an extra sport practice session with the team as well. So these are probably going to be pretty intense, which means that we probably can't do quite as much of the other work that we could do in the off season. So the obvious thing to do here is to maybe cut out 1 conditioning session from the off season to the pre-season, and that's going to be because we have an extra sport practice, and our sport practice is likely going to have a lot of conditioning endurance involved. So we might not actually need to do any conditioning, but I have left 1 session in here. So we'll have a similar setup. We'll have our lower body strength, then we might have our max speed and our fast power in the morning before our sport practice. We might then have our upper body strength and our endurance. Then we'll have our sport practice by itself on Thursday. Maybe that's a more important session or more intensive. Friday we'll do our acceleration, our slow power, and our lower body strength. And then on Saturday we'll do our upper body strength, and we'll have our sport practice later in the day with again another rest period on Sunday. And it's important to make sure that we pair up similar qualities on each training day so that they don't interfere with each other, and we help manage fatigue. Pairing our maximum speed with our fast power, our plyometric type work, is going to be using similar qualities and therefore creating similar adaptations. Whereas on Wednesday, we have our upper body strength training, and then we might have our endurance. That way, if we're not getting an interference effect by doing any lower body work and then lower body conditioning. Same thing here, our acceleration is paired up with our slow power and our lower body strength. these are all going to be more force-oriented exercises. So we're pairing those similar qualities again. So now for the in-season training, this is probably where we're going to have to drop the volume quite significantly because now we have a competitive match throughout the week. So we might have 2 sport practice sessions, and then that third practice session from the preseason is basically now turned into a match. And now a competitive match is going to be the most intense activity that we're going to do throughout the entire week. So we need to make sure we account for that and plan appropriate rest. So as you can see here, we've cut out all the conditioning sessions because we're likely to get a lot of conditioning from our sport practice and our competitive matches themselves. And we have reduced the volume by reducing the frequency of training. So in this in-season plan, we're only hitting each quality once per week as opposed to hitting most of the qualities twice per week in the off-season and pre-season. And that's because our sport practice is going to take over as the priority, and the intensity and effort and volume of that is going to be increased. Or that is likely, at least, if that's the plans made by the club and the team staff. So we're still doing as much training as we can without reaching a point of overreaching. And that threshold is going to be different for different sports and different athletes. And we're strategically putting our rest day the day after the competitive match, maybe do some active recovery, as performing any training after a competitive match is likely to be quite low quality. The other thing to note here is that we want to, before a competitive match, probably do the least fatiguing exercises. So if we hit some really low volume, max speed and fast power, again, we're pairing those qualities, they are likely to not be very fatiguing as opposed to if we did high volume strength training. Thanks for watching, and hopefully you got something out of this video. Remember to subscribe if you haven't already.